Thursday, the 14th of October 2021, with our second edition of the night, and it's a very special one tonight. We've got a city forward from a year or two back. He spent a long time at the club on and off. Simon Martin, welcome to a Podful of Saints.
Hi all.
How are you doing, Simon?
Thanks for having me.
You won't say that later on, mate. I know that.
No way, not a cat in house chance. We've got a little picture of you, Simon, when you were a little bit younger. I don't know if that's coming up.
Yes, yeah, I remember that one.
Oh,
wow.
It's not me in the middle.
No, it's not you in the middle. Did the other two make a career of sitting on the bench as well?
That's my best man there as well on the far side.
Really?
One of my best men.
All right. Very good. 305 games for St Albans City, 90 goals, very impressive statistics all the way around. And of course you started, well, that picture was taken with Fleetville. You went to Fleetville School. You must have been playing in the Wick Shield, I guess.
Yeah, I think it was, in the Wick Shield. With Bob Bridle was my coach, who's done a lot of work around the club as well. Great person. So he really sort of started me off at Fleetville. And actually, the other lad in that picture, I didn't really like football till I was about sort of 6 or 7. Don't know what I was interested in, but he came down from York, that famous area for football, York City, and sort of took me under his wing a little bit. And he claims that he sort of introduced me to football. But yeah, Fleetwood had a really good setup in terms of their sport, and had been at a school which was almost like a sort of secondary school set up in terms of the size of it. I just remember playing that pitch and having some great memories there, and it sort of informed my next decision was secondary school and going to Verulam. They were quite renowned for their PE, or albeit more sort of rugby. So, and that's where I sort of moved on to Verulam, and then the football sort of gathered pace from there.
Of course, you also went on to play for the St Albans district team when Fred Mccain was running it for us.
That's right, yeah, because Killigrew were another strong sort of junior school with their football. With you just need teachers at junior school level that are going to put the time in and effort and enjoy it. And definitely Fred was another one of those characters around St Albans, and played for the district team a few times as well.
And you played for City Youth, I think it was 5 levels, something like that. Did you think one day it might just lead to playing for St Albans City, or perhaps your first love, Watford?
I don't know. I think I was sort of a bit of a late developer, I think. I played at City Youth and enjoyed it. I wasn't allowed to play Sunday mornings for a while because Mum and Dad always took me to church. So I played in the afternoons a lot. And then sort of under 13s, I was allowed to make that choice and played in the mornings as well. And then I think it's under 15 level, I started to improve, and a friend of mine from school was joining another team and actually left St Albans City Youth to play for Comets Langlebury. And we had some really good games over there, playing against S&K. And I remember playing up against Paul Robinson, because I played on the right wing back those days, because a bit more pace. And we had some great battles. We had a really good team, but then they sort of folded at under 16 levels. So I came back to St Albans City Youth and then did well there. And very quickly there was opportunities with the first team as well.
Yeah, the first team, you made your debut on the 6th of March 1996, away to Chelmsford City, Eastern Floodlit Cup. But your first home game, now this was interesting, it's against Selwyn Town Rangers, East Anglian Cup. You substituted Alan Cochrane. Do you remember what happened in the seconds before he left the pitch?
No.
That was the day he resigned as manager. He took his shirt off and threw it down in the centre circle and went with arms raised. Got it now?
Yeah.
Which must have made it difficult for you coming on as his substitute.
I just snuck on. I don't remember. I don't remember the Soham and Chelmsford one so much. It's the Moseley League game that I remember more so. But I'm sure you.
Go on then. That was your league debut on 27th April 96.
Yeah, I mean, was it 16 seconds from coming on to score?
Something like that, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was quick. So that was with Kevin's dad, wasn't it? Alan Randall as manager, who took over from Alan. By then. So I was around with Cockers and the crew for a bit, and that was an interesting start to it, and sort of I was very young still, and being around those kind of characters. Let's think of some of the names, but in there, John Daly was a character, definitely, for sure. I'm trying to think. I remember Simon Webster.
Peter Risley, Erskine Smart.
Yeah, some real
Andy
characters
Colston.
in that team.
Yeah.
So
Barry Blackman.
Yeah, it sort of opened my eyes quite a bit and to it all. But you know, it's something that I sort of just wanted to play. So got on with it very nicely and yeah, hope to move on with it. But I think, yeah, it's quite a big step up going from sort of youth football, school football, because I wasn't at an academy or anything like that. It was just through sort of Sunday and sort of training once or twice a week. So I didn't have sort of that professional coaching, but I still had the late Dave Ray was brilliant with me. Mervyn Morgan had, you know, such a fantastic part of St Albans City Youth, and I think Mark Clark as well when I played for the older guys in the sort of youth cup. So there's some real influential people there, but yeah, and there's nothing like then going and playing and being around the older players in training and that, and you know, Muddy giving you elbows and stuff to start toughening you up a little bit more. Never toughened up fully.
Go on then, talk us through your first goal. It was that Molesey game. As I remember it, you came in from the cricket side of the pitch. We were attacking the York Road goal. Of course, you were a right winger in your younger days as well.
Yeah.
So coming in from there was quite natural for you.
Yeah. So Rob Mccain was playing. He was another young guy from St Albans City Youth. He was a good player. And he sort of popped it off to me, and I just managed to take a couple players, sort of cut it back. And there's a little bit of a slope going up. It's still there at Clarence Park from the sort of right to left side. And my left foot was never that strong, but I did try and work on it a bit and caught it fairly well. And it sort of somehow went in the corner. So I celebrated with some of my friends from school and that behind the goal. It wasn't a massive crowd, but it was kind of a nothing game that I still went to celebrate like I scored at Wembley.
Right, the next season, 96-97, it's remembered for the FA Cup run. You remember some of these games, you played in them. 2 games against London Colney, 2 games against Yedding, Whitney Town in the 4th qualifying round, and in the first round of the FA Cup. You didn't play up at Wisbech by the looks of it. But you come on for last 4 minutes away to Bristol City, so you couldn't quite turn it in our favour.
No, was it 9-2 when I come on? Or?
Probably.
It was, yeah, no, it's some experience though. I've spoken to Greg Howell recently because he scored a couple of goals against Wisbech because his son goes to our school that I teach at. So it's always good to catch up with him. But yeah, we remember down memory lane a little bit then. But yeah, that with the Wisbech game, I don't remember the 4th qualifier so much. I don't know if I got on that, but I think there was quite a good sort of St Albans following for that one as they do. But the Wisbech one was something else. I mean, it was. Yeah,
you came on the sub at the Whitney game.
Yeah.
Talking of Greg Howell, is this kid a fancy Dan as well?
He's got a good left foot. So yeah, he's not a bad player at all. But yeah, that was the Wisbech game. It was just it was packed place, enclosed. It was back in the archives a little bit, although sort of say that we still obviously got issues with racism and that discrimination, that kind of stuff. But I remember I can't remember his name, but we had a black centre half who
Colin Omerbean.
Yeah, he each got pelters for the first half and was taken off at half time. And I remember coming off at the end of the game, got a late winner. Greg got a late winner and we've been spat at and all sorts. But I think the Sky cameras are in our dressing room, so we were sort of celebrating there and got out quickly after as well. But
the journey home wasn't all that
was it not
pleasant anyway, because there were sort of St Albans City scarves getting ripped out of the windows on the way back, and you just that level of abuse is just absolutely just revolting, isn't it?
It was vile, yeah.
Can I just ask something that you would not remember this at all, but I played football against you a few times at school level, and obviously you've now gone on to bigger and better things, and there's Lee Wood co-hosting a podcast for crying out loud, So it's but can I just ask, Do you think it's getting easier or harder for local lads to represent their home teams now?
It's a good question. I don't really fully understand the full setup at St Albans at the moment. So I don't want to speak sort of out of turn, but I remember from my day, it was the youth team, and then we played in the FA Youth Cup. So there was kind of a pathway, and you know, the manager, whoever he was, could just come and cherry pick the best players from the youth team now. But I know Dean's come in, Austin, with the sort of college setup, which is, you know, very common and popular across not just, you know, St Albans, but other teams as well. I met a lad that I taught before, and he had his Stevenage top on, and he was saying he was playing for St Albans, and he's been training with some of the first team players, which is great. But I think everything's harder now in terms of, you know, just watching how many good players there are around, how many opportunities kids have got for football, the facilities, the better coaches. So the competition is very hard. You've been a really good player to stand out. I took a game tonight, and I've probably got one of the best sort of first 11 teams that I've got, and they sort of play at a multitude of different clubs around the county. But you just got to think, to get to that next level now, to play, so especially Conference South, which is a, you know, a challenging league. I know from back when I played, it was a tough league, and I'm sure the standard and money and again facilities has improved in that way. So I think, yeah, to answer your question, it's very tough. The kids, they've got to stand out just to get to that level. We had another lad at school as well who's bright lad, could have stayed on to sixth form, and I thought saying that's probably your best option really. But he sort of took the option to sort of have a year out and try and make it, so to be. He has earned a professional contract at Barnet, but even at Barnet, it's still quite a way down the ladder. He's still got to then try and move up the leagues, or, you know, to earn enough money out the game to be comfortable. So yeah, it's tough. I think it's a good thing for English football, because there's such a pool. You know, not just boys as well. As you look at St Albans City Youth, the number of girls playing football now is brilliant. That's getting more recognition as well. But yeah, it's tough, and there's you know, I see dads now as well. I'm trying not to be that dad that will invest in their kids to try and improve them as footballers and see how far they can go as well.
Is it a case that there's too much pressure on managers at the Conference South level to rely heavily on sort of cherry picking kids, as you sort of put it? They are more entitled to sort of go out and get loan players from that level, and maybe sort of youth team players aren't getting that breakthrough.
Yeah, I think it's really tough. I mean, you say at that level. Well, remember from Hitchin, we had a sort of set up with Luton, so we'd get a lot of the Luton players, as opposed to Hitchin Town youth players, because they're at those clubs and they're ready for that sort of next step. So to be a Phil Foden or someone like that, you have to be, you know, magic, and you have to be a very, very good player and hard worker to make it, even at sort of Conference South, Conference national level.
Somewhere in there, Simon, you mentioned taking a year out. Start of 97-98 season, of course, you went up to, was it Lincoln University? Did you think your football days might be coming to an end? Because you got snapped up pretty quickly by Lincoln United. Yeah,
no, I sorted something out there, because I was pretty confident of getting a non-league club. Obviously, there's not as many round there. Well, there's one in Lincoln. There's Lincoln United. So, of any sort of standard, I mean, you to travel further, you had sort of Grantham and teams like that. But I didn't really make inroads on the first team, which I was a bit disappointed about. But I had a really good year playing reserves, enjoyed my football, enjoyed my first year at uni. But thought I was ready. We had some good players in the reserve team, but I was sort of ready to play at that sort of level, which was one below where St Albans were, probably. And then it was sort of the year after where I played in a sort of League Cup game against Hucknall, and they came in for me. Didn't really know where Hucknall was until they said, and they were Nottingham based, about an hour away. And being a uni student, you've got time in your hands, so I didn't mind the travelling. And in the Northern League, there was a lot of travelling for sure. But I really enjoyed that. Got a bit of stick for being sort of the only Southerner in the team. But yeah, really, really good experience. Really,
you did well there. I've got you down for 128 games, 58 goals.
Yeah, no, I did. Yeah, it was making. I mean, when I first went into the team, I was scored a lot quickly. And I think it was that first year, sort of second half of my year, second half of my second year at university, we got promoted to the Unibond Premier, which was then the equivalent of St Albans. And I remember getting 2 goals at Whitley Bay and having a very good night that night. I think it was my first of my cuts, actually, a little bit of secret here. My first of my cuts to my eyebrows was actually sort of celebrating the win, as opposed to a clash of heads or anything like that. And then my second one that I got up there on my eyebrows was me being naive, sort of 20, jumping into a Gateshead centre-back's elbow, and Claret was everywhere on that one. So, I learned quickly-ish on that one. But yeah, but I'd gradually coming back down because we did well, not so much with St Albans or St Albans City Youth, but with my school team. This is one of my reasons. My A-levels weren't the best, so I had to do an extra year at university, which isn't the worst thing. Parents hated me doing an extra year at university, but I didn't mind. But it was just like a 2-year course, so I actually got a place at Brunel to come back to London to finish off my degree. But I had to turn it down because it was just a bit complicated with football, because I signed a contract for, I don't know who my agent was back then, but it wasn't for much at all. And because of the Bosman ruling, our manager wanted thousands of pounds for me, or going to make it very hard for me to leave if I decided that. So I just thought, in the end, I'll stay there. I'm quite settled up in Lincoln, and stayed there for the sort of the other 2 years. But
was it sports science, or did you do a proper subject as well?
It was a BSc honours sports science degree, Dave. Sports and exercise science.
Very good, Simon. And of course, in summer of 2001, you were looking at various clubs. In fact, actually, before that, didn't you also have a trial with Chesterfield?
No, that's probably something my old manager made up to try and get a few more quid for me. There's teams looking at me. We had a good little cup run. Leicester City, apparently, Nottingham Forest, all those teams around there, but there's nothing concrete in that. And I had a few injury issues up there as well. We trained quite hard. I remember just doing box to boxes for fun, and my hamstrings couldn't cope with that so much. But it was a good time. It was interesting up there. But playing some good players to learn off, like a bit Route 1 players, Andy Morris, who was at Stockport, and Dave Regis, Cyril's brother or cousin. But yeah, there was, and Burton Albion were in our league with Nigel Clough and that. So Gary Crosby was Lincoln for a bit. So there's a lot of players that you learn. Chris Woodall was in the same league. I think he got about 30 assists for one guy one season. There's a good story about Chris Woodall as well, where he's apparently, I think they were 3 or 4-0 up, and he was just during the game just signing autographs on the side of the pitch where they're playing. He said a bit about him, but I enjoyed it.
Simon, have you had that problem yourself?
Yeah, constantly, Dave. Yeah. No, I've had it when I was local. In the height of my career, I'd go do a bit of extra training sometimes down Clarence Park, and I get stopped by a few kids there. So
brilliant. Of course, you came back to us in 2001-2002 season. By then, we were with Gary Roberts and Steve Cook. What's it like working under a dual partnership?
Yeah, it was interesting. I think they did work well together. It always took me that sort of, Gary was the one that sort of was not necessarily the manager, but he had more of the final say, if that made sense. But they worked well together. Because I'm heart was set on coming back, but I did explore other options as well, because there's a fee involved in just seeing what was happening. But I didn't hear anything for a bit because I was away coaching in America for that summer when I finished my degree, which was good fun. But yeah, no, it was a bit slow to get started, but once I got started, the goals seemed to flow that season. I think Gary Ansell was there, so I played up front a bit with him, and Mike Bignell was a good player as well. Good friends, Corey Campbell was there that I still keep in contact with, and been in contact with Rob Keane recently as well. He was in that team. Richard Evans, still see him now and again as well, because he does a bit of coaching down at St Albans City Youth as well. But yeah, we had some good players, but we were kind of that sort of mid-table, and I come from teams before, and I wanted to be in teams that were pushing for things. What was that? Was that little ring?
It's Jake's introducing a sing-along section.
Sing karaoke in a minute.
The reception might go on that bit.
That season, Simon, you cost us £5,000, but 25 goals in 47 games. Look, money well spent. Did you feel it was your most confident season as you took to the pitch, or just have comfortable with the players you're with?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, it was disruptive, wasn't it, that season? Was that? Yeah.
That's one word for it.
You could say that way.
Yeah.
Do you want to chip in on it, Lee?
No, I have to.
No, okay.
It was interesting because obviously I'm going to bring this up, Si, because there's been I'm often sort of driving away at you, sort of leaving, coming back, leaving, coming back. You know, there's this sort of joke. But I think one of the best seasons I've seen you play is certainly when you spoke about players the quality players like Scott Oakes, John Challoner, Miguel de Souza. You know, these quality players. Was at any point thinking, you know, I've earned the right to be playing with these players, or did you always have to feel because you're a local boy playing with ex-pros, you had to sort of push yourself that bit harder?
Yeah, I honestly I pushed myself harder, but I always had that confidence from quite an early age, and probably borderline arrogance at times, especially with like the success I had at school and playing county football, and doing well quite quickly for St Albans. I felt, yeah, I could handle that, and obviously playing with a lot of players, so I probably could have showed some of the sort of older players greater respect, but I did like to learn off them and watch them as well. So yeah, in non-league football, it's abundance of ex-pros, and remember, like I say, with Simon Webster, getting lifts with him, and Steve Bold used to give me lifts as well at times. You mentioned Gary Crawshaw as well. There was a lot of good players to watch and learn off in their movement, their touch, and that kind of thing. But yeah, I think I was at the stage when I started as well. I thought to myself, I should have been starting ahead of Steve Clark. That was my attitude from get-go. And he was about 45 though when he was playing in the last few bits. He would hate me to say.
Sorry, he was 45 when I started to go. So, you know, it's like an episode of Cocoon. He just doesn't get any older, you know. But listen,
but he
488 games, 322 goals. I don't know why we stuck with him.
Yeah, no, he definitely knew where the goal was. And then same with when I was playing as well. Craig McCall-Smith was started off as well, and I think he had that sort of similar mentality as well. But obviously took it a lot with more discipline perhaps, and took it a lot more further. But yeah, no, it was great to play around those older players and learn off them. And you know, further down the line as well, I got to play, you know, because I'm such a big Watford fan, I got to play with Paul Furlong and Mike Hyde and that. So I was just getting their autographs and stuff in awe.
You've actually scored at Vicarage Road, haven't you? You've scored at Vicarage Road, as I remember.
District game, and then for St Albans, and then got sort of booed by some of the Watford fans as I went past the Junior Hornets. I was like, I support you, lot. What's this about? As well as St Albans in England, of course.
That 01-02 season, to sort of come back to the club, having been away, the club that you first played for, and to have such a brilliant season. What was it like for you? Like, how did it feel? Like, you must have been like almost in dreamland, mustn't you?
Yeah, it's really great. Yeah, as I say, the disruption aside, yeah, I love scoring goals, winning games, and enjoying the sort of celebrations after as well with your teammates and fans as well. So yeah, it was really good. And see that sort of the year after, I managed to get to 20 again, but it's a bit disrupted. I started really well, but then I had a few injury issues, which I never really cleared up during my career. Something I just had to manage all the way through, in terms of just sort of muscle tightness and my posture and that kind of stuff, which is frustrating. But you know, in some ways, I'm quite proud that I didn't sort of let it bother me too much and try to work as best as I could with what I had. I think that's always been my mentality, and trying to play at the highest level that I could for as long as I could. But you know, from that sort of first season, second season disrupted, and it was frustrating to leave at that time because, you know, ideally would have liked to have played for longer, but I don't think I was being backed fully by, I think, Steve Cookie at the time.
Well, that first disruption, Simon, come on, we can't avoid it. Our club was suspended by the Isthmian League for 5 weeks. What was it? Players have gone 5 or 6 weeks without getting paid. I know we spoke about this on Radio Verum earlier this year. You must have wondered where your career was going.
Yeah, it was a tough time, definitely a tough time. But I think it sort of brought us together more as players because, you know, we were on the same boat, and you could tell a lot of the players there because they love playing football. It wasn't, you know, the money helps, and some people needed the money more than others, but they kind of got on with it, and eventually it did get sorted. So, you know, we were sort of reimbursed with what we were owed, but you know, it's just like I say, you get into it, start playing football because you love playing football. So I think most people are like that, you know, especially at non-league, because you know, there's some good money to be made in non-league, especially nowadays. But
5 weeks we weren't playing. It must have been difficult to motivate yourselves to keep yourselves fit, because there wasn't an end date. We can see it now, but there wasn't an end date at the time, was there? No.
So yeah, training was, but the training's a bit of release from what you're doing every day, sort of thing. So you know, in some ways there's less pressure because you don't have matches at the weekend and that, but you might have enjoyed the training a little bit more, and it's probably a bit relaxed because of the situation. And then obviously going that amount of time not playing, then the games kept back and get back round again. It was like, let's go, come on, you know, and then you're getting paid double. it's a double whammy. So we should have finished higher that season, really.
It's funny, isn't it? Because going into it, I know you hadn't scored in the 2 games prior to the ban, but before that, you got 5 in 3 games. When you got 5 past Billericay at their ground, 5 past Hampton at the Beverley, and you scored a couple in both games.
Yeah, no, we mentioned before about that being a little purple patch, and you don't want that sort of situation to end. So that's a little bit frustrating, but these things happen, don't they? As we found in the last couple of years, you know, I feel for the players over the last, I mean, the back playing now, but it must have been terrible the last 18 months or so for non-league players and fans.
Yeah. As you mentioned, next season you got 20 goals again, 22, I think, in 50 games. So over 2 very productive seasons. Didn't we have a change of manager during that time as well? Didn't Steve Castle come in for his first spell? Was it round about then? Might have been next season.
I think it was the next season after. I think.
Yeah, it was.
I think it was that because I remember having the conversations with Cookie and Gary Roberts, but I think wasn't Steve Cook on there on his own for a bit?
Yeah.
Gary Roberts.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
Get moved on or go somewhere else.
December 2003, you played in a 4-0 defeat at Hendon, and then you went out on loan to Cambridge City.
Yeah, which is where Gary Roberts was, wasn't it?
Yeah, he'd gone to there.
Yeah. So then I was, because by that stage I think I was on the transfer list because I'd taken up the extra year option, and it's the Bosman ruling anyway. So by this time I kind of knew I was going to be leaving. So the question is where I was going to go. And then I think one of the teams I was talking to, I know they're not that local as well, was Kingstonian. I was quite close to joining them. But I think there was a death in the club which threw everything in the you know, out the water a little bit. So it came down to between really Cambridge City and Slough Town. Not Slough Town, sorry, Thurrock. So yeah, and then eventually opted for Thurrock in the end. So it was sad. It was really sad to leave. But again, I'm one of those that I always want to play. I want to play, and I want to play at the best level I can. So actually, in a way, St Albans is a bigger club than Thurrock. But Thurrock were able to pay me more, even though it's more travelling. But also they were pushing for promotion as well. There's some really good players, especially in my position as well. I was up against Cliff Ackerang and Trezor Candle and Chrissy White. There's some good players there.
Not a lot of support.
No, we saw that. I noticed that in the FA Cup first round, but it just scraped over 1,000. So they didn't have a massive fan base. A lot of their finance was by the sort of hotel that they were right by. But it was another sort of experience for me. And obviously, a lot of players don't like moving on or going to. But I had the experience of university, going up there not knowing anyone, and then finding my way in non-league football up there. So going on Cambridge to loan and signing for Thurrock didn't really faze me. So I started well, and second season I didn't play as much as I liked. And then I was in a situation where St Albans were interested again, and it's very convenient. St Albans was very, very convenient for me playing for a team that I.
Yes, who's back?
Yeah,
back again.
Yeah.
You're back under a new manager, Colin Ellacott.
The one and only, yeah. Sir Colin.
What was your relationship like with him, Simon?
Yeah, really good. Really good. He's quite straight talking. I liked his sense of humour. I like how he was, trusted players. He had a good eye for players as well, and arranging and organising teams. So he built us. I remember him watching a bit down at Thurrock first, and then sort of had a little quick chat. And it's kind of a bit of a no-brainer, really, because like I say, I wasn't really working out at Thurrock as well as I liked. And did I know many of the players? I didn't know many of the players, but I got a sense that there was. I think Siebes was there. Chris Siebes was there. I think he was.
He was, yeah.
I think he was there, yeah. So yeah, I got a sense of they're forming quite a good young team. And of course, by this stage, I'm not one of the youngest anymore. I'm a little bit more experienced and should have been coming to my prime a little bit. But yeah, that first half of the season, going into January, was brilliant. And just
well, you kicked off with something like 6 goals in your first 9 or 10 games.
Yeah.
Alongside you, Lee Clark, he was in phenomenal form, wasn't he?
Yeah, and Matthew Han as well.
Yeah.
Scoring from the wing. So, I got quite a few assists as well, which pleased me. But yeah, chipped in. I think by the end of it was 12 goals in sort of 30 games, which probably should have had a few more. But when you've got Clark, he was pushing on for nearly 40 that season, I think, wasn't he? And Matty Han getting goals on the wing. And we had other players like Dean Cracknell that could score, and defenders could chip in. So, yeah, it was just so frustrating. I sort of played on a little bit longer, maybe knowing that my cartilage wasn't right and trying to hang in there. But, yeah, obviously got the scan, and that was me done for the season in sort of, I think, January, February time. And managed to have some private healthcare, but it wasn't going to be that soon enough. So, yeah, it was brilliant to be involved in that, but just again frustrating. I wasn't part of the team in that playoff.
Simon, can I just ask you, mate? You've been speaking about sort of managing injuries and sort of being the more experienced player going to other sort of sides. Have you had to adapt your game accordingly, especially with not only coming back to St Albans, but sort of going to teams where you've already got established strikers?
Yeah, that's a good question. Yeah, definitely. Yeah, I think when I was the first spell, I was just young, fresh, and like recently playing on the wing, so I was sort of fearless. But I think someone made a comment once where I could do some of the tricky stuff really well, but some of the basic stuff, like it was the back to goal stuff and playing others in. Taking players on was a bit more natural to me back then, whereas the second spell I was a bit stronger, going to university and doing sports science, and then being a fitness instructor, personal trainer. The second spell I was as fit as I'd ever been, and that probably contributed with the goals that I scored.
And the girls.
Second spell.
Yeah, Freudian slip there, Simon.
Freudian slip, yeah, no comment on that one. And then the third spell, I wasn't as quick. I was still strong, and yeah, I'd be one of those. Still work hard for the team, but probably not as sharp as I was when I was a bit younger. So therefore, the game had moved on a little bit there. The standard had definitely improved in that league by the time we were back in there. Think of some of the Weymouth we were up against and some of the teams there. Although mind you, going back to the first spell, one of the best non-league teams I played against has got to be Canvey Island in their peak, with Lee Boylan, and you remember that team? They were a very, very good team. But yeah, definitely had to adapt my game and try and complement what was around me. But yeah, me and Lee really hit it off in that first spell, and obviously Hacks was there as well. So you know, we had sort of three of us doing really well at the start of the season, and fortunately Lee and Hacks both stayed fit really, because I don't think we did have a couple of strikers, but I don't think they was as potent maybe. But they stayed fit and they both got the goals in the playoff final in the end. So yeah, brilliant to get up to the conference, and you know, I'm hopeful that Storm's
you must
do it
have been
again.
dying to get in and play in the conference with St Albans, obviously. But how frustrating was it as a player sitting on the touchlines when we played that playoff final against Histon?
Yeah, it was, but I was accepted by then, and it was just I was like a fan. So I remember that day, and the fans were chanting my name, and it was like giving a little wave from the crowd, and that was amazing. And I was on the pitch afterwards, and it wasn't just me that was injured. Obviously, Cuzzo, I believe, Scott Cousins was injured, a really bad injury, and Benny as well, Ben Martin, who would have been a big part of the team as well, had a bad injury as well. So there's kind of three of us, and we sort of supported each other on that, and then obviously pre-season as well, worked hard to try and get into a good shape for that season. But I think for me, it was just that conference national with my work and that as well. It was probably just a step too far, which was a shame. Whereas you had Hacks a few years younger, you know, he fitted into that conference. Clark, he was definitely a conference player, and a number of others where we just needed to add a little bit more. We weren't set up for the conference as a club. Nowhere near. We tried to. We started off pretty well, but you need a bit more to sustain it on and off the pitch. Yeah,
that 2006-7 season, your only goals were that hat-trick you scored against Royston in the Hart Senior. But you'd love to have got a goal in the Conference National, wouldn't you?
It's a regret, and people say, "Oh, you should have regrets and stuff." But you know, first, could I have done more? I thought I was training hard, but also had my work just recently into teaching, and that, there's a lot going on there. But the first day of the season when we upset was at Kidderminster, just come off the bench, and I think this Matty hand hit a shot, hit the post, it's come back to my left foot. It's pretty much an open goal. And I thought I'd just smash this in, and it's come off my ankle, and it's gone wide, and the Kidderminster fans are giving me some stick, and I'm like, yeah, I rue that moment. I want to forget that moment, but I don't think I ever will. But, we didn't lose the game, but yeah, on a sort of personal front, to be a striker and played in the conference but not scored is a frustrating.
Well, we got off to a reasonable start. We had 10 points in 7 games, and there's only a few games when we were outclassed, and we ended up with 40 points, which is still the record by the club, finishing bottom of the league. But you go into games, and it did reach a stage where you didn't expect to get anything out of it. What was it like as a player?
It's tough because you get on a bit of I didn't realise we got that many points actually, but you get in a little bit of a rut, and the confidence is low, and the hope the new players. We signed a few new players. Remember, obviously, was it Waters and Leon Archer came in, and Elliott was a good signing. He did quite well for us. But yeah, it didn't quite sink. It just wasn't enough, and but you go away, and you remember playing Oxford United, and great experience, but it's just a different world from where we were. So it was always going to be tough, but yeah, you obviously try and keep going. I mean, for me personally, I was always trying to support and encourage the boys as best possible, despite being frustrated I wasn't in the team, or kind of knowing a little bit that I've done enough in training to start, And then I hadn't a lot of time, and I did have chances throughout that season. I had a few games to play, and one that sticks out at me is Dagenham and Redbridge, where I'd done a sort of 4 days work, and I actually stupidly done a training session for my year 7s or something like that afterwards, and then I went and played against these 2 beasts of centre halves, and I just got battered. And they're obviously full-time training, and it
Dagenham that night was just about the fastest side I'd ever seen.
They were very fit. They were very fit. I just noticed that, and I was like, cool.
But Craig McHale-Smith spoke to him that night. He said pre-season John Steele didn't give him a football. They basically just ran and ran and ran. And my God, it showed up that night, I thought. Lee, Jake, memories from the promotion relegation seasons you want to chuck in?
I think sort of going back to what you were saying, Dagenham that night, when you've got players like, Paul Benson, the quality of them players that you were having sort of, I remember, I thought we'd made it into the big time when we got into the conference because we were on like London LBC radio, again, and it was, Oxford away on telly, and it was a good time. What I think it's important for the players of that era to understand is that as fans, we may not never see that again, and although it was bittersweet, to see the quality of players, Ben Walsh, Hacks, Clark, yourself, Ran Marwa, all these fantastic players, Gary Elphick, Ben Martin, Paul Bastock, just you can reel them off. But what you've done is just create memories there that will live on forever. And I don't think we disgraced ourselves in our application. I think it was just the fact that, as you say, Simon, we ran out of money and we just ran out of desire towards the end in terms of behind the scenes to want to sort of keep us in that league.
Mm. No, yeah, you do look back. I've got so many fond memories that year. We had an open top bus. It's ridiculous. We ran to the city and you sort of waving to the market people. I often don't know what's going on, but we had the hardcore supporters there, and the Sunday after the playoff final as well. I was working the next day. I got into school with my medal on, and just probably the worst teacher ever that day. But yeah, no, and then, like I say, little things like going up to school were really good with me. So you'd go up earlier to some games like Morecambe, nice hotel, Rushden Diamonds away games, and some of the derbies against Stevenage as well. We beat them at their place, didn't we?
Yeah.
So, for the fans, that must have been an incredible day.
I can't remember a great deal of it, Si, if I'm honest with you, mate. But yeah.
Yeah, we gave them a gold start and they weren't good enough. The following season, back in Conference South, you didn't join in until January. What happened the first half of the season?
What's this one?
What happened the first half of the season? You weren't with us, were you? Or was that still your injury? No, it wasn't your injury. It was the previous season.
Right. So yeah, sorry. Because at the end of the conference season, I ended up on loan at Wealdstone.
Yes.
Playing about 3 games a week. That tested my hamstring. Who's played? There's some good players. There's players from Watford that went on to play a little bit in league for Joe O'Toole, and who was the other one? Centre forward Theo Robinson as well. He was a good player to play up front with. So yeah, quite enjoyed that. But then I didn't sign for them. I had a good deal coming from Hayes and Yedding. So they offered me a 2-year contract, and it was a bit no-brainer. I trained hard that season. I liked the manager there, Gary Haylock. But again, I played a lot of games, but for whatever reason, a bit like Farrell, goals flow as much as we'd liked. I was up against some. So again, they had some really good forwards. Josh Scott was there, Stafford Palmer, and there's the Will guy as well. But so it came to sort of time at Christmas time where it wasn't really working out. Obviously, I was under contract, and St Albans were in a situation where they weren't doing that well. They weren't sort of, bouncing back as it was.
We were facing relegation.
Was it that bad? Was it?
It all changed when we brought back Paul Bastock for the last 11 games of the season, you may recall. Poor Nick Eyre got shifted out. And in those 11 games, Basler got Conference South Player of the Month and won the St Albans City Player of the Year. We just sneaked out 11 relegation in the penultimate game.
What was the last game then?
Last game was home to Hampton and Richmond Borough, which you scored in. And the draw midweek away to Maidenhead. That's what kept us up.
Yeah, because I remember coming back and I scored in my first 2 or 3 games, didn't I?
You did against Havant, Eastleigh, and Dorchester, all away from home.
Yeah, because my mates were sort of joking about that one where I sort of come back and then do all right for a bit and then get a good deal, and then into the goals dry up. But yeah, so I think Clark would help me resign there, and then I think Crackers came back. Dean Cracknell came back as well. There's a few of us, and obviously Bazza as well. So yeah, it was again a bit of a no-brainer to come back again, because one, it was a good deal, yes, financially, but you know, St Albans is the club that I want to play for non-league, you know, by a long way. So that was good to help out in that situation. And then the season after was tough. I found it hard that season. We had an okay team. I remember John Hunt signed. We had, was Migsy back there as well? Miguel de Souza, did he come back for that spell, or was that
No, it doesn't look like it. No.
I
this is
remember
the 08-09 season.
Yeah, and that French striker as well. He's the French striker. He was a character.
Oh, Jimmy Sangaire, was it?
Jimmy Sangaire was the centre back. He was part of our conference team. He was a very good player.
He was the striker. I know who you mean. Didn't he score away at Woking or somewhere like that?
Possibly, yeah.
Dave, come on, Dave. You got the stats.
No, he's no foreign name showing up there that season. I don't think Gary Cohen counts as a foreign name, does
it? Gary Cohen was rapid. He was very quick. Maybe I'm thinking of further down the line.
Right.
But I remember the last game of the season, the season after we stayed up, we played up at Wimbledon. It was like the Guard of Honour for Wimbledon. There's 5,000 there. That was great, but I was off the pace that game big time. They were too good for us.
We barely got a look in, did we?
Yeah.
3-0. We clapped them onto the pitch, and I think we spent the next 90 minutes clapping them as well. Well, hello, Jake. You look much better without your camera on.
Well, yeah, it's gone off for no reason, so ignore me.
Off you went. I guess that was to Hitchin Town, was it then, Simon?
No.
Slough Town?
Slough, yeah. So 2 years at Slough. He spoke to Steve and Castle, and I thought I'd still be involved for the season after, but the contract was up. I think, he had other ideas. So yeah, my hand was forced on that one a little bit. So yeah, initially I was thinking of signing for Hemel, but I went and had a holiday in Ibiza, and probably didn't come up back in the best of shape, or as good a shape as I could have been. And
it's to us all, so don't let yourself down, mate. That happens to us all.
It was with the missus, to be fair, but yeah, it was. But then Emil let release me really late. They kind of, it was all agreed the deal, and then suddenly I was stuck without a team for the first game of the season, which, you know, you don't want that. I've never really had that, so I was like, what goes on here? So I end up, that was further on, actually. That was after Slough. I'm getting confused. Slough was organised and sorted with Steve Bateman there. And we had some good players there, but it was one of those where we sort of flirted with the playoffs, but we didn't quite have enough to get us over the line. And I think the next manager or two managers further down the line have done a really good job with Slough, sort of moving them to a stronger team, and they've got their new ground, etc. We've always played at Beaconsfield. But yeah, so I had a couple of years at Slough, and then left them to go to Hemel. That's when that happened a bit further on. And they reached before the season started. So then I signed for Aylesbury, which was a kind of not a real step down, but a bit of a step down from what I'd been used to. But I quite enjoyed it there and scored a few goals until they didn't want to pay me what they were paying me. So I was stuck with a club. Actually, I went down and watched Potter's Bar for a bit and thought, let's just take it a little bit more easy. But then Potter's Bar, to be fair to them, have got a much more sort of professional setup for what they've got there.
That's close to work, wasn't it?
Yeah, very close to work, yeah. And then spoke to St Albans again. Why not?
A cracking day, you returned. Do you remember, 3rd of December, 2011. Do you remember the game?
Which one? The My fifth
Against Barwell.
Barwell.
Yeah. And we had all the Snow White characters there from the pantomime and whatnot, and the pantomime was more on the pitch than off it that day. We lost 6-1, remember?
Barwell. No, I think I've erased that from memory. It's a good. The game I remember most in terms of loss, and I don't know if you remember this one, is we played Grays Athletic and lost
9?
9, yeah, 9-1.
Yeah. That was a good day outside. Thanks for that, mate. Yeah.
Great free kick, though. You remember my free kick? That's my free kick.
I was in the bar, mate, after the first 6 or 7 goals. So
it must be on video somewhere. That's the collector's item, that.
Dark day, mate, I have to say. 9-0. That's a very, very, very long.
I got the 1. You missed the 1.
Oh, right, 9-1. Yeah, well.
Sorry
about that. Sorry, mate. I apologise.
Yeah, that was a bad one. That we were very much depleted. The Barwell, yeah, I've erased that one.
Yeah, don't blame you. Good choice.
But that was an interesting time with who was the manager? David Howe.
Yeah.
The ex-Watford ones and.
Yeah, that was our first, Micah Hyde, our first season in the Southern League Premier Division, that was. Acclimatising. Did you feel David Howe was looking for an immediate promotion or build it over a couple of years?
I think, I think he was looking to build it a little bit.
Because the club had come off a bad time. We'd been, again, we got in trouble with the league. A £9,000 fine for financial irregularities, a 10-point deduction. So it was a case of rebuilding the club again, wasn't it?
Yeah, and I think, we got some good characters in, but again, it was going to that next level, which it can be hard. It can be hard to do sometimes. I can't really put my finger on it there, David Howe. It's I enjoyed it and playing with some of the older experienced players, but you need to, I think, get that balance right with younger players and players that are going to come on and make an impact. There's obviously quite a big connection with Harrow Borough from previously, and some really good players there actually.
That striker you mentioned, Seko Bakari.
That's the one, yeah. Sako, yeah. Good character.
Somewhat erratic.
Yeah, my GCSE French came in handy there. But no, yeah, it was again, I was that sort of in a bit getting towards the twilight there, so I was, again, having to change my game a little bit. Needed faster players around me, but still thought I could offer a job and score goals if the chances were there. But yeah, it was good to be back again and try and build something. And again, I hope to stay a bit longer, but I think, when Jimmy came in with Goldsy, they had their plan of getting St Albans back up, and you can't argue with what they achieved to get the team up through the playoffs a couple of years later.
Well, of your 305 games, Simon, 107 of which you came off the bench.
Yeah.
98 times you were sent back to the bench.
Yeah.
It's an interesting stat, isn't it? It's an unusual one.
Yeah, I think I equated to two things really. One, obviously trying to play at the highest level I can play at. Well, maybe three things. Two, often, some real good quality forwards that I was competing with to play in the team across all 5 spells. And then thirdly, the injury problems I had. I remember a particular spell where I was getting to sort of 60, 65 minutes, and you might as well put someone else, you on, Dave. You might as well put you on for the last half an hour.
Steady on side, bloody hell, mate.
Yeah, that's a bit harsh on myself there. But no, I was just tired, fatiguing out, whether I was doing too much with the sort of the personal training or gym work or school work or whatever. I don't know, but couldn't really put a finger on it. So I had that kind of issue, and then in terms of coming on as a sub, I wasn't happy sitting on the bench, but I always thought, if I started the season and I was sort of one of those around it, I thought, I could force my way in and be a regular fixture here. rather than sort of, oh no, there's a bit of competition, I'll go and find somewhere else to play 2 leagues down or whatever. So I knew I could play in the Conference South. It's obviously doing it consistently. It sometimes can be challenging with other things in your life or work and the circumstances of that club. But yeah, no, so it is an interesting one, but obviously there's always a story to tell with it. But in terms of a goal return, it makes the goal return more impressive, no?
If you say so.
Per minute, goals per game, goals per minute.
Yeah, goals per minute, it helps out. Yeah, your final game for the club, your 305th, of course, April 2013. You signed off by getting your only trophy for the club, Arts Charity Cup final, 3-2 win over Bishop Stortford. Remember it? Have you still got the tankard?
Yeah, tankard's away somewhere. Just my little one wants to just get the trophies out again. But yeah, that's bad, isn't it, in terms of how many games I've played and the amount of trophies. I mean, when you're talking about, it depends. A lot of times the managers would have with the charity and the county cup, senior cup, that we weren't taking that seriously. There weren't many league cups either. So, you know, the other cups you enter are the FA Trophy, the FA Cup. So it's tricky. And obviously, you know, I take big pride in the playoff win, you know, as a trophy for that one. So, and then personal trophies like the, you know, player of the season that year, or, you know, the golden boot and those sort of things.
After that, it was on the Hitchin, wasn't it? Bit of playing and a bit of coaching.
Well, signed for Coney Heath free season, just to keep playing, a little bit of extra cash or whatever. But then Berkey came calling over Hitchin because they had a bit of a striker crisis, and yeah, I really enjoyed my time there. It was a nice, you know, friendly community club. Essentially, it's quite a similar place to St Albans, I think, in certain ways. Nice fan base. The expectations weren't too high, but I think we tried to move that a little bit, which we did in a way. By the time the last year they got to the playoff final and should have won, really. They were winning till late on and let that late goal in. Yeah, no, I enjoyed that, and being a sort of experienced one and helping. So they had a lot of younger players, and they were quite good at promoting some of the younger players. Yes, some from Luton academies and that kind of stuff, but I, you know, enjoyed that sort of aspect of bringing players through. Whereas my last spell at St Albans, I was, compared to some of them, I was still a younger player. So yeah, it was a different experience there.
Any thoughts of getting back into coaching with a senior club, or is that all gone by the by now?
No, I haven't ruled it out. I mean, I've still got 2 younger ones at the moment, and who was there the other day? Ian Woods was laughing because I was refereeing my son's game, under 7s game. Yeah, played great advantage at one point. So everyone stopped, and he slotted one in the bottom corner, scuffed in the bottom corner. I said to him, "Yeah, I've scored a few of those. Don't worry about that; they'll count." But no, it's some things in the back of my mind. I'm really enjoy my job at Chancellor's School as head of PE there. It takes up a lot of time during term time. Obviously, we do get decent holidays. But yeah, I know. That's why I do things like this and the commentating and speak to people at Hitchin still, because you know, taking the first 11 this afternoon, I like to think I know a fair bit. And we as a school, you know, since I've been there, we had a lot of success in sort of number of professional players that have come from a school, which I think is up to 7, possibly 8 now, across those 15 years, including Emma Smith-Rowe was one of our lads at Arsenal. And we're having lots of success with our football now in terms of it's kind of sort of breeding that. So we don't often enter teams national cups unless we think going to do well. So we've got 3 teams national cups this year that are looking strong. And yeah, I'd enjoy it. I do enjoy it. So yeah, never say never. I understand. I've played under managers, and I know it's stressful. It's time consuming. But we'll see what happens there further down the line.
You mentioned there a bit of co-commentating on Radio Verulam. Does it come naturally to you? Because Jake's had a go of it, and I think he got rid of him.
You need to do a bit of preparation. Actually, I was thrown on the bus the first one because I had to read out the team's name, and I wasn't completely au fait with the St Albans lineup. So maybe I have to apologise to some of the boys because I pronounced their name not quite correctly. But yeah, no, I watched some of the highlights, and obviously the sort of media team is gone to another level for St Albans now. So there's what's that face there, Dave? It's easy to get clips of stuff and see what's going on. So I was a bit more prepared for the second time. I want to do another one further down the line. I was invited to do another one, but Watford playing Manchester United that day, so I was busy. But no, I definitely want to get back down the park again. And there's talk of, my son's at that age now where he will come down and watch and take in some non-league proper football as well as occasionally go and see the Premier League giants as well.
Managers you played under, Simon: Alan Cochrane, Alan Randall, Gary Robertson, Steve Cook, Steve Castle, Colin Lippiat, David Hell, Graham Goals, and Jimmy Gray. Any preferences there?
I think was Jimmy Neighbour there for a bit as well when I was.
Yeah, right at your start, probably. Yeah.
Right, yeah. Well, you got to look at the successful seasons, and I know it's kind of probably only just over half a year for me, but with Colin Lippiat and getting into the.
Because he's an attack-minded manager, wasn't he? So that would suit you.
Yeah, very much so. Very much so. So it did suit me, yeah. And like I say, his eye for players and the players he got around. We all complicated. We complemented each other across the team, and it wasn't a massive squad we had that year. We had a few players coming in from that sort of 15 to 20 shirts, if that makes sense. But the sort of 14 or 15 of us were quite tight knit, and you kind of knew roughly what the team would be most weeks, depending on the previous games gone. And there wouldn't be many changes. And obviously with Gary Roberts, he was quite laid back and let me play, bring me back to the club. And obviously I got a lot of goals in those two years as well. So yeah, that'd probably be the preferences for me in terms of individual and team success. And it was good fun starting off with Cockers for a bit.
Yes, it would have been. Anything you want to chuck in, Lee?
Just to say thank you, mate. I think you've been a very sort of underappreciated striker for City. I know I absolutely have pounded you about leaving for a pound note, coming back again, leaving again. That's harsh, but it was fair. But I just want to say thank you, mate, because for someone who it's really interesting. See, I played against you, and now sort of see you then suddenly play for my hometown team. It was really interesting to sort of follow your career, to do so well at City as well. It was really refreshing because everyone loves a local lad who does well for their hometown team, and you were the epitome of that, Simon.
Thanks, Lee. What school were you at?
Townsend.
Is that Townsend?
Yeah. So you had like Andrew Emerton, Stephen McEwen, Daniel Leaney, Matt Taylor.
Steve McEwen he came to Comets Lane Review for a bit. Right. He's such a big, strong, fast player. We had a good team there. But yeah, no, I appreciate that. And like I say, if I could have played 10, 15 years for Saints the whole time, but the permutations and changes with non-league football, as you know, supporting St Albans is crazy, really. And some of it's down to form and some of it's if your face fits, etc. But I would like to achieve more, scored more goals. Like not getting over 100 is annoying. Not scoring a conference goal, playing better in the conference. But yeah, no, I've got so many fond memories. And this is why doing stuff like this is brilliant, because there's stuff Dave's reading off from the computer in front of him, that just gives you those memories back of magic moments that happened throughout the sort of football career. And once it's gone, it's gone. you know, I was when I finished the pitching, on our sort of last away trip or whatever, there was a moment where, yes, I had a few drinks, but there was a moment where I kind of realised, like, this is it now. It's finished, and it was really emotional because you sort of, you love all the football, the moments there as well, but also the people you meet, the people you play with, the supporters, etc., that give you that encouragement. And yeah, no, it's good to chat about it and go down memory lane. So thanks for inviting me on this today.
It's been a pleasure. All the best players went to Townsend, by the way. Right, thanks so much, then, Simon.
All right, gentlemen, I'll see you down the park soon. Yeah.
Yeah, we'll see you.
Cheers, mate.
Thanks, Simon.
Cheers, guys. Thank you, Jacob. See you, Lee.
Okay.
See you, Dave.
Bye, mate.
Bye-bye.